All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we do have Ultimate Sharen on the horizon, and with 16 catalysts later, we have a small dev update and like an insight into the modules or the Transcendent modules that can come with her Ultimate. And I do think that Sharen or Ultimate Sharen or whichever version of it that you want is still going to be a lackluster character. Sharen is marketed as, for lack of better words, she's marketed as a ninja. She's able to utilize her short sword, her cut-off beam, in a variety of different ways. She's able to be quite mobile while also eliminating a lot of foes at once and able to go invisible and cause lots and lots of damage. As you all know, if you do play Sharen, she is an outpost farmer that usually gets interrupted by bunnies or Luna, and she does not live up to the hype of what this introductory to Sharen trailer provides. It provides utilizing the cutoff beam in again variety of different ways, while following it up with a short flash short sword demonstration of throwing out like a mediocre amount of like 3. Now, her active camouflage also does not grant you any major buffs. It doesn't regain shield, doesn't regain a specific amount of health. It doesn't give you any type of advantage when you get out of the stealth mode, and you cannot hide from Colossi. So you can only do some of the most effective damage with her to an immobilized unit, which is when the Colossi is on one knee. Now, the Shock Nuts is one of the weakest skills in the entire Descendant kit, as Shock Nuts does not do anything really to the Colossi itself, so it's bad in intercept battles. The most of the enemies that you want to hit with it can't be stunned or have like an innate stun blocker in it, so you can't use it on those. And also, when you use Battlesuit Melting Rounds, I've done a lot of Void intercept battles, and Battlesuit Melting Rounds just isn't the like. No one's using Battlesuit Melting Rounds on anything besides niche YouTube videos. Now, here's what the developers have to say about Ultimate Sharen coming up.
네, 바로 이어서 얼티밋 샤렌이 등장을 했습니다. 앞에 샤렌 스토리 설명에서 예상을 하셨을 것 같은데요. 이번 시즌의 얼티밋 계승자가 바로 이 샤렌입니다.
네, 그리고 샤렌, 얼티밋 샤렌과 함께 두 개의 얼티밋 샤렌 전용 얼티밋 스킬 모듈이 출시됩니다. 첫 번째 모듈은 광역 진압이라는 모듈이고요. 이 스킬 모듈은 샤렌의 부족했던 선멸 능력을 강화하는 스킬 모듈이에요. 이 스킬은 샤렌 주변에 360도로 단검을 던지는 그런 스킬을 부여합니다.
360도요?
네, 맞습니다. 그리고 치명타가 발생하면 재사용 대기 시간이 줄어들기 때문에 치명타를 늘리고 그리고 재사용 대기 시간을 줄이는 세팅을 하면 이 스킬을 굉장히 자주 사용할 수가 있게 될 거예요.
네.
Now, placed in a vacuum or placed in an area where the enemies aren't moving and there's no Freyna or no Bunny, I can see this kind of working out if you get overwhelmed, but in most cases, you're trying to attack the enemies from a distance, as we've played Sharen for a long time, in order to eliminate the enemies before they come to you. And for those single target enemies, you want to do the max amount of damage with either your shotgun or your sniper rifle. I don't see a world where Sharen not getting updated to where she can utilize her one and then disappear and reappear and like close the distance on an enemy, or not utilizing like her void ultimate to actually close distance on enemies while doing a massive AoE damage, something akin to disappearing and reappearing like a lightning strike and casting out those short swords in a 360-degree manner, further building into mobility and a ninja-like aspect for the character, as I feel like that's where she was supposed to go, utilizing the short sword, stunning enemies that get in her way, and dominating everything else around her in an explosion.
그리고 두 번째 스킬 모듈은 매복의 권력군이라는 재밌는 이름의 스킬 모듈이에요. 이 스킬 모듈은 은신의 효율을 높여줍니다. 은신 중에 이동 속도를 높여주고요. 그리고 은신 상태에서 사용한 스킬의 대기 시간도 줄여줘요. 그리고 은신 중에 적을 척취하면 다시 은신이 발동되기 때문에 무한 은신이 가능한 그런 기전을 가지게 됩니다. 그리고 또 충격탄 스킬을 공격 스킬로 변형을 하기 때문에 은신과 스킬 딜러 컨셉을 더 잘 살릴 수 있도록 지원하는 그런 스킬 모듈이에요.
Now, again, the developers are sticking to shock nuts and wanting to modify that again. Battlesuit melting rounds, again, seems like it has a lot of applicable utility to it, but again, I've done a lot of void intercept battles and I never see shock nuts and battlesuit melting rounds utilized in a way to where it's like big damage on an enemy. You have your Enzos and then you have your bunnies running around. Now the technology is in the game to actually disappear like a ninja. You are seeing that the spawn in different animations could give Sharen some utility in if she was to utilize her stealth abilities, that she'd be able to create an effect field around her, change those leaves to electrical little surges to stun enemies when she disappears, or to create a cloud of smoke when she disappears that would stun or electrocute enemies or provide a mild moderation of electrocution to an enemy, or upon reappearing that any of those things happen. Now, they're doubling down on this shock nuts thing and making it some sort of DPS type of deal, but who's going to give that up over overcharged edge? It would have to be quite a significant boost to shock nuts in order to take off overcharged edge. And if you're using overcharged edge, then you probably just don't have Haley yet, I'm guessing, because you're still utilizing the going invisible and coming back into the real world, and then use like the 45-second ambush timer cooldown that can be modified through cooldown reduction and whatever, gets it down to like 25 seconds. But still, Haley's putting out massive amounts of sniper rifle damage with her areas. The flash sword itself is a point of contention, as it's marketed as something that can move the needle. It can move Sharen in a way that would dominate the battlefield and take out multiple enemies over a large area. Now, in practice, it can do that, but even at the base level, it does 10 enemies, while max daggers flying towards one enemy is 3 daggers out of the 10. I think it should always send all the daggers at a single target enemy, as I think that would just be more bang for its buck. And even when you attach void domination to it, it cuts down the max daggers flying towards one enemy to 2, which makes it completely useless in intercept battles. Now, if that was modified to max daggers flying towards enemy weak points, that would be great, because then you could hit multiple points on a Colossi and target all of its weak points at once. It would give it some sort of niche application in a void intercept battle outside of the enemy's frenzy mode, because when they're in frenzy mode, usually they have like one main or 2 main weak spot places that it can hit. But again, her ultimate, it doesn't feel ultimate, it feels hindering when you don't have a lot of enemies there to attack with it. And if we go over to her ambush trait, or it's called the Assassinator. The Assassinator is basically the thing that triggers ambush and resets active camouflage, which doesn't do anything for you besides make you invisible. It has a 45-second cooldown on its own, and it increases outgoing attack damage when attacking non-targeted enemies by 15%. There's no lingering effect after the Assassinator is done, so it grants you no benefit there. And it does outgoing damage increase when enemies aren't targeting you, which for a Colossi is only when it's kneeling down in an immobilized state. So, but once you get into the mix of the battle, if an enemy isn't targeting you, they're probably already dead with how the pace of the game goes. So there isn't really no big investment in that. When utilizing Sharen, you feel like you're always a step behind of a bunny running or a Freyna just dominating the whole battlefield with her poison. Even an Ajax could jump in and slam a few enemies down before you're able to utilize any of her kit. Now, I believe that Dangerous Ambush has probably held Sharen back for quite a bit. I believe that the ultimate mods are catered towards specific descendants, like Narcissism for Bunny, or any of the poison stuff for Freyna, or Last Stand for Enzo, which is really good, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I think that Dangerous Ambush should be more Sharen focused and less applicable for everybody else to give it a bigger application. And Sharen has to be built out in so many different ways. For her outposts, she has to be built around skill duration, skill cooldown, and then she still has to be able to put out damage. For her mobbing builds, she mainly has to be be able to survive most encounters, and she has to be able to take out a wide variety of targets doing the max amount of damage. And then her bossing build is basically dangerous ambush with overcharged edge and skill crit modifiers to max out that, to get the maximum amount of damage as you can from your single shot. But if you're competing against a Haley, you're really just holding the team back by utilizing Sharen in the first place. I mean, you might as well put on Battlesuit Melting Rounds and put on Enduring Legacy that has some sort of electrical conduit to it, or Excava, in order to maximize your own damage, because all your other skills are basically going to be useless in the Colossi battle because you have no major single target damage. And I don't think any of the updates coming to Sharen, even in her ultimate form, is going to push the needle into having people invest 16 catalysts into Sharen like I have, and only to put her on the back burner to not use for later. So let me know what you guys think about the Sharen changes in the updates, and if you have anything to say on the topic about Sharen, if she's one of your favorite characters, or you're so glad that Haley's in the game, you actually get to utilize a character that can do what Sharen does, or what she was doing, but better. And if you wish that Sharen did move a lot more like a ninja, as she is marketed in the First Descendant page. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
The Vulgus can't see me. Why? Because I exist in their blind spot.